Hi, it's Ray from Pro Shaper Workshop in Charlton, Massachusetts. Thanks for all the support we've been getting on the channel. It's picked up quite a bit. We did a rust removal video and they seem to do really good and the numbers are jumping. So we're going to do a TIG versus gas welding comparison tonight. I got a piece of 063 aluminum. I dragged it out of the trash bucket. It's got a little compound in it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it right in half. And I'm going to weld, I'm going to tack it with the TIG because I like the way that I can tack with the TIG. It's very easy. And then I'm going to weld half of it with gas, half of it with the TIG. And then we'll compare the results after. All right, I bandsawed the panel in half. That makes a beautiful joint. I scribed the line first. Has a little fuzz from the bandsaw. I took a little file, knocked the fuzz off. I've got a back gas protection with this little bit of 027 roofing copper. He's got 6 clamps on here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to TIG tack this whole thing, and that will hold it all nice and level together. That's super important to get your surfaces flush. So I'm going to tack it here and here, and then I'm going to start in the middle and work my way out like that. These tacks here lock the ends, because what happens is as you go out from the center to the end, it wants to walk over each other. And these clamps are restricted, but they can jump the clamps sometimes. So I used a little bit of Scotch-Brite on the joint, and I'll give it a little Scotch-Brite on the rod here. I use a magnifier in my helmet. It's a 2.5 magnification, and it really helps out a lot. So I'm going to start over here. This is 063, 3003. I got 1100 rod. I got my TIG set at 80 amps. I'll show you the settings later if you want. And I use a mix of helium, argon, 50% helium, 50% argon. It makes a difference. You can do it with straight argon, but it makes you more foolproof if you add that helium element. All the TIG welding originally of aluminum was done with, it was called heliac. They used helium, and for some reason they switched over to argon. I don't know the history of it. So here I'm going to do some tacks. Now when you do these initial tacks, this metal is room temperature, and you got to bring this up. So one of the difficulties is getting your puddle started, is you got to build the heat up. So you just kind of wand it around, you just barely push the pedal, and you create a bunch of heat, and you make sure that you get heat on both sides of the panel. Oftentimes one side of the panel will heat up a lot more than the other, so you got to pay attention. You get it hot, and then you get to where the seam is, and you start to see it silvery aluminum color or silver color, and then you just drop a little ball on there, and that'll be our tack. So there's our nice tack there. Now we'll add another one on the other side. You saw how we heated that up. We'll do the same thing here. I should get one over here too. get one right here too. All right, now we have 8 tacks. I'm going to put one right on the end here too, on both ends. Ready? I'm pulsing with my pedal a little bit, and I'm adding the rod and then pulsing with the pedal, and I'm trying to get the smallest bead as I can. Right over here I flubbed it a little bit. A really good welder doesn't flub it, and it takes years and years of practice, and most important, it takes really good eyesight. So. The real important thing here is when you're TIG welding is you get the correct heat for the job. If you're too hot, you'll see these tiny little boiling bubbles, and you're actually overheating the aluminum. If you're too cold, you're not getting the handshake between the two sides of the panel, and it's going to crack. This is what you'll see out in the forums, and everybody has an opinion on welding will say that TIG welding cracks all the time. And it will. It will crack if it's not done right. Sometimes you can do it right for 2 feet, and then all of a sudden you'll get a crack half an inch long or an inch long. You just got to clean it up. That's all. Redo it. It'll re-weld no problem. So now I have a back gas condition in the sense there because I've closed the back door. Now I can just run this weld if I want. So I can add a little rod if I need to, but that will be a pretty weld on this side now because we've got that back side all welded. You always have to be comfortable when you're welding. So there's our front side weld. I don't think I have any undercuts on there because I had a lot of drop through. I got a good amount of weld there. So both of these should grind really nice and planish out really nice. As you can see, there's very minimal distortion. There'll be a little bit of shrinkage every time you weld, but there's very little distortion there. So now we got half of it welded with TIG. We'll mark that with the marker here, TIG. And then we'll gas weld this side. The gas welding we only have to do on one side because gas welding will penetrate right through. There's no openness or anything. You can TIG weld on one side if you're super careful and you've got a back gas condition. So there's the gas, there's the TIG. Now I got to mix up the flux, get the torch set up, and we'll be right back. I got a water bottle, cut it up. Got a little bit of water in here. I got the flux. It's made by Superior Flux and Manufacturing in Cleveland, Ohio. What's their website? www.superiorflux.com. Expiration date on this is 4/18/19, so it's 2 years out of date, but I don't think it's any problem. We'll put a little flux in with that water there. It's got a silica thing here. We just want to make a little paste. That's too wet. I get a little more in there. This is very corrosive too. It'll corrode everything, all your tools and everything, so you got to clean it off pretty good. Still a little too wet. There we go. That should do it. Put that back in there. This gives off a little fumes when you're working with it. Now I got to get the torch. I don't have anything special. I have used the hydrogen and oxygen combination before, and that was exceptional. It burns super clean. There's no soot at all. With the acetylene oxygen, you do get a little bit of black soot, tiny amount, but you can see it. So we're going to get the torch. It's over here. All right, I got nothing special. It's a nice torch. It's a Smith's torch. I've got Miko. I have the Cobra, or the Dillon torch. I think I got one other one, really small. This is a small torch, but it's a general purpose torch. I bought this probably 35 years ago or so. So what I'm going to do is just put a little heat in here and then put the flux on it. That's a nightmare with the thing jumping around like that, so I want to try to balance that out. You can put it on both sides. One side's probably sufficient. A lot of guys are really good at how they put any flux at all, but it's good to have enough flux on there. And you can flux your rod too.
That's what she said.
That's my joke. Damn it, Dwight.
We're going to clean the rod with the Scotch-Brite. We'll heat the rod up a little bit. And put a little flux on it. Let's see if I can take that bounce out of here. Now, for my helmet, I'm just using a standard helmet here, but I have a Kent White's lens. I've had that for 30 years or so. They're a really nice lens. You can also use, I've done a study on it, and there's some other ones that work almost as good as this, but as far as my experience, Kent White's TM Technologies is probably the best one. It's a little pricey. A lot of people balk at the price, but it's well worth it if you want to do gas welding. And then I put my little 2.5 glass magnifiers in there also, so I can see pretty good. So let's see how I can do here. I'm not the best gas welder by any stretch, but I can hold my own. I probably learned when I was about 14 or so. I haven't done that much of it. Got a little bit of a flame there. And let me come down on my chair a little. And here we go. There we go. Doesn't look too bad. And the heat control with the gas torch is pulling the heat away. I could do about a ½ an inch at a time, and what happens is the heat starts to accumulate, so you have to pull the heat away, let it cool for a second, then you introduce your heat back again and do another ½ inch, pull it away, and you get a nice little rhythm going. And you have on the TIG, you have a control structure that you have the pedal, and you can move the tungsten away as well. The tungsten is a electric torch. This is a gas torch, and they're similar, very similar. And now we'll let that cool down, and then we'll wash it all good. Let's just flip her over here without burning our hands. So, oh, here are my gloves. Let me get my gloves on. We'll flip her over and see if I got good enough penetration with that gas weld. Now, with a gas weld, if your penetration isn't perfect, it's not the end of the world. It'll still hold together really well. Doesn't look like I did too well on that. So I was a little cold on my gas weld. So I could run that again on that side. Generally, you don't have to, but I don't want to have someone say, well, you didn't do the gas weld right. So let me just run that on the back side. It should go pretty quick. Heat that up a little bit. Give it another dose of flux. Heat this up a little. Run that. Wrong helmet. Thought something looked funny. That's better.
Give it a little more heat.
So now I got the backside all welded. Like I said, generally you don't have to do that. I had the setting a little bit low. If I was doing this every day, it would have been a little bit better. So now we got to clean these welds up. A really good gas welder would have a much nicer look. I'm probably a much better TIG welder than I am a gas welder. I've got a nicer look on there. So let's let it cool down. We'll clean it up good. We'll grind it. I'll show you some of the grinding, and then we'll hammer it down in the planishing hammer, get it flush, and then we'll smooth it all out nice, and then see how much strength we got in that weld. I'm going to grind these welds down. I'm not going to grind them all the way right now. I'm going to do a preliminary grind on them, and then I will run it in the air planishing hammer, squash it down a little bit, and if there's any low spots, there might be a little low spot on my TIG weld side. It looks pretty good, but there might be. I don't think there's any low on here. We can cold forge some of the material from the bottom up. So I use 50 grit Norton Blaze. I found these to be the best. These are Rolocks. And for the grinder, I've tried every one of these air grinders. Now, Harbor Freight came out with their Chief brand, which is their top of the line air tool. They are an exceptional air tool. The problem is you can't get them. Oftentimes they're not in the store, and they're not on their website. So I've got 2 right now, but I'll probably buy 4 more to replace some of the Huskies and the lesser quality ones that I've got. I use wax because the aluminum will pick up, so I got a little bit of candle wax, nothing special about it. And I'm going to grind with it like this, not across it, but with it. This top grind is really easy because it's offering itself up nicely. So we washed this flux off with hot water in the sink and scrubbed it with a brush. This is the gas side, this is the TIG side. So now we're going to do a preliminary grind on it. And the object is to grind just the weld, not the parent metal. So as you can see, I don't have any scratches yet. I will put some scratches in. But if you go this way across it, you're going to be biting all the way over here, and it makes a big mess, and it's just not a really good technique. I turn it around or tack it from the other angle because this little lip, we want to get rid of this lip, and we'll fade that right in. So at first it's like a mound on top of the parent metal, but then we're going to cut it down so it's just a little, like a small angle house top on there, and we'll leave that little extra until, see, there's a little bit maybe undercuts on here too. So there's the gas side. Now let's do the TIG side. And you want a pretty low angle when you're grinding. If you go like this, you're going to dig a scallop in there really easily. So now we'll do the back side. On the back side, I'll take my used disc, which generally you only use the outside of it. You use a little bit of the inside, but there's still a lot of good grinding material left on the inside here. And that one has a 3-inch backing pad. This one has a 1.5 inch backing pad. And then watch how I cut this. It's a 1/4 inch off the backing pad. I just cut it straight like that. I turn it a little bit, and I have it. This is a delegated whisk shear that I bought just for cutting these discs. Try to maintain that 1/4 inch. It's pretty simple to do, and that makes this little hex. It's out of round and stuff, but it doesn't make any difference. These little edges right here at the angle, that's what really cuts like crazy. So now I'm going to put the wax out here, and we'll power this up with some air. Let me mark that too. This is gas, and that's TIG. And it's so important to have good abrasives. I just bought, I think 52-inch Chinese sourced abrasives. It was incredibly low price. I used them once and I said, oh my God, these things just don't do what they're supposed to do. These Norton Blazes are just exceptional. It is a little loud. I want to put some muffs on. Put another one on. Now that can be cut down again. I've got an 1.25 inch backing pad or an inch backing pad, and I'll cut that again. All right, let's bring that over to the air hammer, and we'll hammer that down. All right, we got a lower die that has a slight crown to it. Lower that. There we go. That's just about flush now. We'll give it another little grind. Usually I clean them up with like 120, and they're absolutely perfect after that. But we're just going to hit them with the 50 again, back over at the grinder table. All right, we'll do the back side a little bit with the smaller disc. Now normally I grind that a lot more with a lot more careful procedure, and I'll do it like I said with 120, and it looks perfect and everything. But it's getting late, so we've got it all welded together. Now let's see. We can do two tests here. We're going to do a clamp test. We'll clamp this to the bench like this. Bend it right on that weld. Let's see what happens here. That's the gas side. Because it's got the compound in it, it won't let me hinge it. So. It won't really go that way so much. Let's try it this way here. all looking good. Straighten it out again. Let's bend it again. Straighten it out again. Let's bend it again. Straighten it out again. See any cracks? There's the TIG side. There's the gas side. No cracks. All right, now let's go over and hit it with a hammer. All right. We'll hit it with this hammer. This is, I call a medium crown. We'll hit it like we're going to be shaping it. It's the gas side. All right, the gas side has broke. Look at that. I'm not saying the gas is no good. I wasn't doing the weld that good. There's the TIG side. Now it's broke here. That's a fatigue break at the edge of the weld. These broke right at the weld. Like I said, I did a bad weld on there. It was probably cold. So I really won't condemn that gas weld. Generally, the gas weld will go and go and go. If you do the TIG weld, it'll go and go and go too. But if your procedure is wrong, you're not going to get ideal results. So you don't condemn the method just because you didn't get a perfect result every single time. So there you have it. We'll probably do this a couple more times to show the differences between gas and TIG, and I'd like to get probably some other welders in that are really good at it, and we'll give them the same test, and that'd be a great thing for the channel. So please remember to subscribe, give us the likes, the comments, hit that notification bell. Remember, you can go to the home page on YouTube, and there's like now 257 videos, I think, there. You go to the home page, you hit the video drop-down menu, and all the videos are there in chronological order. It's quite a library of information, and you can easily get lost for a couple weeks there watching all those videos, and we really do appreciate it when you do. So it's Ray from Pro Shaper Workshop in Charlton, Massachusetts. Thanks for watching.